Hey everybody, hope y'all are doing good. So I've been asked more than a few times, what do I need to start forging? What do I need to be able to start blacksmithing? And as somebody who's trying to get into this craft, that can be a really overwhelming question, trying to think of everything that you need to be able to get into this. And so today, and maybe I'll make this into a series, but I just want to talk about one thing today, and that is the forge. So there are two different types of forges. You got a gas forge, then you got a solid fuel forge. We usually just call these coal forges. But as we're going to talk about later on in this video, there are actually lots of different things that you can burn inside of a coal forge. And so there are several different pros and cons of either of these types of forges. So the gas forge and the coal forge. The gas forge, you can forge and heat a very large object, or in very even heat. So for example, right now I'm working on making a cleaver, and the blade's really big and it's really hard using my coal forge to try to get an even heat on that whole blade. So that's where a gas forge is really nice. But personally, I don't have a gas forge, and I don't have a whole lot of experience using them. I've only used them, a couple handfuls of time, taking different classes. So today, we're just going to focus on coal forges. Now, the coal forge is really nice because you're able to heat just a very small, concentrated area. So say if I just wanted to work on a tip of a knife, I can just get the tip hot. Or if there is a section in the middle of the blade or the start of the handle, I can just heat those specific areas. And it's really nice to be able to get that precise heat on the area that you actually are wanting to work. And there are different pros and cons to a gas and a coal forge, but again, this is what I have most experience with, so this is what we're going to talk about today. So since we're going to be talking about coal forges, we have to understand the science on how these things work. So this might take a while, so just hang with me. So first, we got the fuel. This is just a chunk of coal. And so once we got this on fire, once it's burning, then we need to add air to it. So all forges will have an air supply, whether that's a bellows or that's a hair dryer or a blower. We're gonna have an air supply that's gonna blow oxygen, it's gonna blow air onto this fuel. And that's going to make the fuel and the fire burn very hot. No, that's it. That's all there is to this. So really simple things. I love that about it. So we're going to talk about some different forges, but first we're going to talk about some different types of fuel that we can use, that we can actually burn in our forges. The first fuel and the first type of forge that we made, we burned just plain old wood. You can use logs and branches. You can use cut up scrap pieces of 2x4s. As long as it's not a treated wood, or it's not like a OSB or a particle board where it has a ton of glues and different chemicals in it. As long as a hardwood or something like that, you can burn it. It does get hot enough. It's not as hot as coal or some of these, or charcoal and some of the other things. Usually it's because there's such big gaps in between your stuff, because a lot of the things that we burned anyway were pretty big chunks of wood. And then also it does spark quite a bit, and so that's something that's kind of annoying, but something that you can certainly get used to as long as you're wearing good safety glasses and maybe a long sleeve shirt that won't burn. Alright, next up is charcoal. That's right, wood that's been charred. So I've seen a lot of people try to use the briquettes. Do not use the briquettes. They spark more than anything. I mean, they will just completely shower you and the whole area that you're working in with hot embers and sparks. On top of that, once they get hot, these things just crumble. I mean, they do not keep their shape at all. Instead, if you just want to use charcoal, or that's what you have, use this. This is a hardwood charcoal, and you can see like the grain of the wood and stuff like that. And this is actually even still what I use to start my coal fires. Is I use this. I'll start a small fire just using this, and then I'll add my coal to it, since this is very much easier to start a fire. And you still get sparks with this, but it will still burn, and it does get hot, and it just goes very, very quickly. So if this is definitely going to be probably more of an expensive thing, not that like per weight it's expensive, but just how much of it you have to use in order to be able to forge for any number of time. But it is something that you can definitely use. Alright, and the next thing on our list is just plain old coal. You have two main types of coal that is used, at least here in the States. One is called bituminous coal, and the other one is anthracite. Bituminous is usually what is used for by blacksmiths. It burns well, it coaks up, which is just very nice, pure, usually very pure coal. And it's very nice because you don't have to have air blowing on it all the time, unlike this stuff, because this stuff is anthracite. The only reason I use this is because that's just what's more easily and more affordably available to me. It burns hotter, but you have to have constant air blowing on it. If I turn off the blower on my forge for 5 minutes or so, there's a good likelihood that I'm not going to be able to start my fire up again, because this stuff would just burn out. And it's just really hard to get the fire started, which again is why I use the hardwood charcoal in order to be able to start my fires. That way I already got something very hot to work with. So there are other types of fuels that you can use. I do know some people will use corn. That is not something I've personally used, but again, the fuel that we've gone over, those are just to get you started, and those are just different options of stuff that you can use, that you can burn in a coal forge, other than the briquettes. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Alright, now we know how a forge works, the science behind it, and we know several different types of fuels that we can be burning in our forges. Now we're going to look at the forge itself. Now this is something that can be very, very simple, or it can be more complicated. It's really up to you, and I'm just going to show you a couple or a few different examples from what I've used in the past over my years of blacksmithing. And to start out in the beginning, we're going to actually have to go back to the beginning. I'm going to take you to my folks' place in the barn out back, where me and a couple of my brothers first built our forge and first started blacksmithing. So let's go. A little bit worn. So this is the old chicken coop. This is where we had our chickens. There's a big old hole back there, man. We had a rat problem right in there. Yeah, hole for the chicken run. And in here is our blacksmith shop. So the old barn fell down. We were able to clear out this space here, and we built all the walls, the roof right here. Me and my brothers, just using scrap lumber. Don't really know how well you can see that. Kind of falling apart just a little bit. Yeah, this is our forge. Or was. Oh, look at that piece of junk. Maybe we'll talk about that one in the anvil video. Alright, so here it is, our first forge. What we first started off with, this was just flat. We just had a brick stacked up, had a piece of sheet metal on here, and then we covered it in just dirt. And then this, we just put a hair dryer at the end of this, stuck it underneath our flame. We had a bunch of wood chopped up and stuffed right there. And we would just have the hair dryer just duct tape to the end of this, and you know, that's what we used. You know, we had actually, this is actually some of the chunks that we were using to burn. You know, we cut them up in smaller pieces, but you know, we just used wood. You know, so you got a few of these stacked up, stuff. Stick your pipe in there, put your steel inside of here, and that worked for a little while. And then we had a friend from church who's a ABS journeyman bladesmith, and he came and he helped us build a new forge. So he also works for IMI. He brought a ton of white clay from where he works. Then he made a brake rotor forge. I'll have to bring you around for that. Here. So you can see the holes here, and so he just made a bed of the clay and we put a brake rotor with a forge welded, or with a welded on top, and it has these holes cut in to it. And then underneath, got an inlet pipe for the air, and it's too dark in there, but that pipe just goes straight into the bottom of that brake rotor, just bolted on or welded on. And yeah, so that's what we use for our first forge. So when you burn for coal, you get a byproduct sometimes called clinker. Clinker is terrible stuff. It's pretty much all the impurities in the coal, and it gets all gummy. It kind of turns into like a molten glass, and it does not burn. And inside those holes, it would settle in there and just clog it all up. And so after a few hours plus forging, you know, you'd have to stop forging, be able to break all the clinker out from around the holes, and you'd have to start over again. Which again was fine. Just we were happy just to be beating some hot steel. So here we go. That's our first forge. When I said there's a brake rotor in there, this is what I mean. This is a brake rotor. And what he did, I believe, is he bolted the pipes down here for the air. Then this right here is sitting like that. And I think he put a plate on top of this, just a steel plate that he cut those slots in. So this is your fire pot for your forge and stuff, and the clay is just worked on the top of this and kind of goes down in there a little bit. But just wanted to clarify what I was talking about, being a brake rotor in there. So again, just give you guys some ideas of different things that you could use for your coal forges. Alright, so the next forge I made was after I moved out, and soon after I got married. I built this forge. So I just got some square tube pipe, and I drilled a series of holes. I think these are 1/4 inch holes, and then got some sheet steel plate welded to the square pipe, and I set the whole thing. It's a patio table frame. But you know, I can take this off, I can move it around. It's nice and relatively light. I would use fire bricks. Sorry for the harsh sunlight. Use fire bricks, and I would line this up with those. And then this forge I originally had designed with the intent of using wood, like chopping up wooden blocks, but then I started using it for coal, and it worked really well for that. But again, you come into problems with clinker, and clinker will clog these holes, and when I'm done forging, or I'd have to be done forging after a little while because they would just clog them up too much, and you have to like poke little holes through them when it cooled down. And so yeah, and then for the blower, I just had the blower attached. I actually had it attached to the other side there. You can see the tape. So yeah, had a pipe come down here, and then had the blower setting right in there, and then that pipe would just come up, hook to this. Had a big old rock on the end here to keep the coals from falling out from the back. But used this thing for years, and it's held up very well for just being an outside forge. And yeah, so that's this one and what I've used for up until recently, actually. And that's the forge I'll show you next. And here's the forge that I'm currently using. This one I actually had bought. I've actually bought from there's a company, a guy, store called Fiery Furnace Forge. He's based out in Kentucky, and he built this. It's really nice, thick steel. This is where the air comes into the fire pot, and you notice I got this thing right here, and it has a lever right here that when you turn this, and what that is, it's a clinker breaker. So we've been talking a lot about clinker, and this right here is what clinker looks like once it's cool. When it's hot, again, it's like this molten, glassy, is like really nasty stuff, and it will clog this. But when you got this, you can break it up. Some of it will get dumped in there. And this particular one, let's see, we got the main pipe coming down and got the inlet for the blower. This is just a blower taken out from an old truck, and I just have it taped to this right now, but what I want to do is get a piece of pipe, extend this out, and then attach this. The tape kind of gets a little bit melty when I'm using it. Then it's got a ash dump, so you can do this. Dumps out all the ashes and the little stuff that's falling through. But yeah, so this thing has been amazing so far, especially with an actual chimney on a forge hood. But yeah, I mean that blower, again, is taken out from an old truck, and that thing has lasted a long time. That forge out by my folks' place, the guy who I told you about who helped us build that forge, he actually gave us that blower, and that's actually the one I'm still using today. So I mean, you know, again, this is just an old blower from an old truck that was ripped out from there. It's just wired for just regular old power. You know, go into an outlet. You know, if you don't know how to do that, I'm sure you know somebody probably does. But yeah, and again, this one I actually got made because I don't weld. I don't know how to weld. I've done it one time, but it did not hold up. So you know, I don't have the tools for it anyhow. But so this was made for me, and he makes them. Again, it's a Fiery Furnace Forge. He's based out in Kentucky. If you're curious, you might want to check it out. But again, this is not something that's necessary. This is just something that has a few features that is really nice to have. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and at the very least, I really hope that somebody was able to learn something. Today, as we walked through and talked about coal forges and solid fuel forges, I really hope that you're able to see just how affordable and how cheap or even free it is to be able to get into this hobby or this craft, blacksmithing. You know, when people are thinking about trying to get into this, you know, a lot of times they're thinking, oh man, well, I saw this online, and it costs this amount of money, this costs hundreds of dollars and stuff like that. And yeah, it can be extremely daunting. It can be very hard to, you know, to like, oh, I don't know if I can do this or not kind of thing, or if it's worth it, you know, if I'm even going to stay in in this hobby. But again, like, you know, I showed you my first forge. I mean, that was just a piece of pipe with a hair dryer that I sold from my mom's closet, you know. But I mean, you don't have to like take your mom's hair dryer, you know. You can go to Goodwill and you can pick this thing up, one of those things up for like $2 and stuff, you know. Again, it can be very, very affordable and even free. You know, I've been forging for, you know, probably close to 14 years now, and just last year is the first time I actually spent any money actually on a forge. Everything else has been just things I've been able to kind of scrounge together, just free and scraps and stuff, or, you know, like the second one, you know, was a gift to us, which we're really, really thankful for. Again, it doesn't have to be a very expensive thing, but, you know, if you can afford it, you have some exposable income, you know, be able to get something really nice, you know, like clinker breaker, something like that, and absolutely go for it and stuff. But again, it's just not a requirement. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this, and you know, I'm thinking about maybe trying to make this into like a series, you know. So I want to start blacksmithing. Where do I start? Today we talk about forges. Maybe the next video we'll talk about hammers and anvils, you know. You guys saw that really cheap D, you know, anvil shaped object, you know, that was in my old shop, and oh, it looks the part, but it is awful. And we found something makeshift that worked 10 times better. And again, it just kind of goes to show you just got to understand like the principles of, you know, of forging, of an anvil and stuff. And a lot of times, again, you can do this for very, very free or very cheap, affordably, and maybe even free. So there's really no excuse to not try it. If this is something that you're interested in, then I absolutely encourage you just to go for it. You know, this is something that you can do very, very easily. And, you know, the blacksmithing community is probably one of the best communities out there. There's usually going to be different groups and stuff like that are probably already in your area. All you have to do is just reach out to them and, you know, maybe go to one of their meetings if they have like a monthly hammer in or something like that. You can go there, they can show you some things and really figure out whether or not you like it or not, and I'm sure they'd help you out, give you all sorts of advice and tips, and be able to help teach you and get you some lessons and stuff. So really, really good community, really good community. So again, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider just liking, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. Again, I'm going to be trying to roll out with some more videos. And if there's anything in this video that I didn't cover very well, please just let me know. I'd like to go over it again, either with you guys, or I can try to do another recording, be able to add it to the video and stuff like that. This is something that's really new to me. I'm terrible in front of the camera, very uncomfortable, but I think it's starting to slowly get better, and I'm working on it. But saying that, you know, I am still learning a whole lot. So if there's something that like you'd really like me to change or do differently, please just let me know. I'm learning. I would love to learn more and about how to do this a little bit better. But again, that's it from me, guys. I'll catch you guys next time, and thank you for watching.